Now, I'm a huge fan of Nintendo handheld devices. I've always been a huge fan of Nintendo's handheld devices, and that's because it was the first one I ever played. I didn't really grow up being able to own all of the consoles, and my whole life of being a console gamer, I've not actually owned every single console by Nintendo. But today I want to talk about the Nintendo Switch LITE. I've talked about it before, and I've done some comparisons, but I think a comprehensive overview is due because this guy is very, very much so worth it. But there are a few things that you need to know that really limit the gaming experience that you get on something like the Nintendo Switch LITE. First, let's address portability. Portability of this thing is bar none. It's smaller than the Nintendo Switch. It's more compact than the Nintendo Switch. It is pocketable. There's no moving parts, and everything affixed to this device itself stays there. Now, the biggest trade-off that you get with that is, at least with the Nintendo Switch, you are able to switch out the Joy-Cons to different colors if you want to do that, or you're able to replace Joy-Cons, send them in for repair, or get them replaced by Nintendo if you have any issues with Joy-Con drift. Now, that is something that people have complained about in the past, that these things do get Joy-Con drift, and you start to get inaccurate input when you're playing video games. And with the Nintendo Switch LITE, though I haven't experienced that, and then this is the launch Nintendo Switch LITE in this color, I still think that that is something to take note of. You don't have the ability to repair as easily or replace as easily if you're somebody who's really, really hard on your consoles. Again, I personally am not, and I do use this almost daily in very specific situations. Now, one of the main places you would find me playing my Nintendo Switch is in bed. And the main reason for that is because, well, I have it next to my bed. I have my main Switch downstairs docked. And I know, you're like, well, you have two Switches. It kind of defeats the purpose of this video. Well, I'm not necessarily saying that this right here should replace or is better than or is less than. I'm simply doing a comprehensive review in the dark, in your bedroom, casually, a couple hours here and there throughout the house. No problem, because it's fine. It lasts 3 to 5 hours versus the 4.5 to 9 that you get in a normal Switch, which is something that you should really consider. If you're playing portable, you would expect that the most portable system that Nintendo has to offer to you is the one with the best battery life. That's simply not the case. The OLED, or the V2 Switch, or the Red Box Switch, I believe it's called, is the one that actually has the best battery life. This guy is stuck at 3 to 5 or 3 to 7, I think is what's listed. And the biggest thing to understand is that you're going to need to have a charger handy every couple of days, because if this thing just sits on your nightstand for 5 or 6 days not being used, you're going to turn it on and realize, man, I only have 15%. And for me, it doesn't matter because I'm just playing half an hour before bed. That 15% will get me there. But for those of you who this is your only console, that's definitely something that you need to keep note of. Now, this is a rather extreme situation, but I understand that this can happen to people. Nintendo Switch LITE is the most portable Nintendo Switch out there, hands down. Portability means everywhere, not just inside, but outside, coffee shops, wherever you want to go, bus stops, bus stations, buses, none of which I visit ever. This thing has an LCD display, not an OLED display. What does that matter? Well, for me, inside, not much. Yes, the OLED is vibrant, gorgeous, beautiful, and incredible, especially with some games like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze or some of the different Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, you name it. But here's the deal. In direct sunlight, LCD versus OLED, and I can't really show it to you here because you're watching this on a phone or a computer, you're not going to see the LCD easily, especially in direct sunlight. Indirect sunlight, for that matter, even. And if you're wearing sunglasses, it's pretty much game over. Not to mention, if those sunglasses, or glasses for that matter, are polarized, completely cancels out your display. Well, pretty much on both, and you're not going to have a good gaming experience at all. So I know what you're thinking then. You're thinking, well, then why the heck would I buy the thing if it seems I can't use it portably, and I can't use it outside, and the battery life sucks? I know. It seems like I'm painting a pretty bleak picture, but let me talk to you about why this thing is well worth it. One, the price point is incredible, $200, and often you can find it on resale for $150, maybe even $129, which gets you into Nintendo Switch titles, as many Nintendo Switch titles as you want, because this has the exact same processor. Exact same. I've tried it. Same performance, same everything that you would get on an OLED or on the standard Red Box Switch. So you're not going to get yourself into any sort of bad performance situations. You're getting the same game. And it almost feels like you're cheating when you're playing a game like Tears of the Kingdom on this small little machine when you've seen it on a TV or on the OLED for that matter. It just feels almost wrong in a good way, though. You're like, dang, this thing's rad. And let me just speak into one of my favorite features that this has, and that's a real D-pad. The button D-pad, though some like it, I don't love it. And the D-pad on this, I do actually like. Forget what the internet says. Is it mushy? Sure. Is it bad? Not even in the slightest. And it's more accurate than the Pro Controller's D-pad. Now, like it or not, we're seeing a push to an all-digital future. So the internal storage on this leaves a little bit to be desired. 32 gigs. 32 gigs is pretty much enough to store just a couple games on there. So you're gonna need an SD card. Luckily, micro SD cards are a dime a dozen. They're on sale almost always, and you'll see a link below in order to get yourself one. But also a couple other features that you're going to miss out on, though I don't think they're deal breakers even in the slightest, is on the OLED, you are gonna get louder audio, better audio, almost pretend stereo audio, because those audio devices, the speakers, they are upgraded. And the display size is, yes, much bigger. I think that the Nintendo Switch Lite is an incredible option. I've, again, compared both side by side, and I personally think that for a lot of people, the Switch Lite does the job, especially as we are entering into potentially, if not definitely, a new Nintendo cycle. Some of us who have never played on the Switch before may think, I just want to dabble. And that's pretty much the narrative of my last video about this, is that this is the dabbler's Switch. It just feels right. There's a reason why I still own one. I play this very, very often in my house, all over my house, because my main Switch right here is plugged into my TV, which I use almost exclusively for streaming video games. I don't sit in my office and play Switch often. And when I'm on the go, I take my Lite. Yeah, I'm not outside often either, so it really doesn't matter. The pocketability of it's great. The form factor is great. I like the solid construction. I think it's an incredible system. But the trade-offs that are there are ones to consider heavily. Smaller internal storage, non-replaceable componentry, and most of all, the biggest thing to consider is that battery life. It's just comically small. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you own a Nintendo Switch and a Nintendo Switch OLED and you're a dual switcher, let me know if you're like me, because it's ridiculous, it's not necessary, but boy, oh boy, is it fun. I love the Nintendo Switch. It's the best system that exists, and the Switch Lite is my favorite form factor. It just, unfortunately, doesn't check all the boxes for me. It will never be my main. If you want to learn more about the Switch, you can watch this video right here. Make sure to purchase SD cards below for your Switches, but most of all, happy gaming.